Hey guys, it's Evan with Underhill Bonsai, and today we're going to be doing another educational video on how to create bonsai out of bulk cypress material. And I wanted to shoot a video today for you guys that is kind of like just an overall ultimate guide to developing trees from a stump to growing them out for a couple of years to designing them to them becoming show-worthy specimens. So I'm going to start with the most basic stock to a tree that was collected about a year ago, to a tree that was collected 4 years ago, and so on and so forth. But before we get too far, I want to mention that Underhill Bonsai is a nursery in Folsom, Louisiana. We are Louisiana's premier bonsai nursery. We have everything from wire, soil, tools, pottery, bonsai pottery, and pre-bonsai all the way up to specimen bonsai available for sale. You can go over to underhillbonsaistore.com to see what we have available. And otherwise, you can go to underhillbonsai.com without the store and go look at articles that I've written about bonsai as well. And then if it couldn't be enough, I also have a podcast called Little Things for Bonsai People. We are currently over 100 episodes. We celebrated our 100th episode this past December. And so it's me and Carmen Lesko-Biensky talking about bonsai everything. So if you guys want more content, that's the place to find it. And also make sure to like, share, subscribe, and leave questions in the comments below so that I can answer them later on. We'll have to do a whole video after this one about all the questions that we got recently. But yeah, starting here with this tree. So this is kind of like step one, but this tree here, in case you guys are wondering, is a tree out of the field that we grew here at Underhill. So we have a field of about 2,000 of these trees. Currently we're cycling them in and out. We'll take a handful out and then we'll get some seedlings and put them back in. So this tree is roughly about 2, maybe 3 years in development in the ground. It's been cut and it's got little branches that grew this past spring after it was cut down. And then this tree was pulled out of the ground moments ago. Like literally, my grounds foreman over there is pulling trees. He's pulling several hundred of them this year, and this tree just had its roots cut. So it's a little loose in this pot, and it's in pure organic pine bark and sand and a little bit of other little materials in there to kind of help it along its way here to recovery. So the roots have been cut really nice and tight. Only the roots necessary to get into a shallow container have been left. And in this tree, in about a year, will be exploded with all kinds of nice growth on it. So this tree, as you guys can see, it still has some snow on it. That's real. At the time of recording of this, it snowed about 3 days ago, and we got almost 10 inches of snow where I live. So that's just residual. So I just didn't knock it off. I think it would be kind of funny to leave it on there. But this tree was collected a year ago by me and Nate Murray. So if you guys are interested in swamp collected trees, that's exactly what this is. So this tree was pulled out of the Franklinton area, Franklinton, Louisiana, which is about 20 minutes north of here. And this was collected near a pond, near someone's house, on a private property that we asked permission to collect on. So it checks all the boxes as far as the ethics of collecting bulk cypresses. And if you want to go check out Nate Murray on Instagram, you go to Boot Bonsai on Instagram. You can see him pulling these trees. He does a beautiful job with finding good stock. So this tree here, we were looking for something with interest, some little character. I kind of like this part of the tree here because it's got a little bit of a movement, and then it kind of goes up in here and it becomes straight. This tree will be cut probably into one of these pieces and then tapered, carved down into the tapering section of the trunk, which would be roughly here, and then we would finish our tree somewhere in this height probably. You guys can see this. Y'all refer back to earlier videos that I've done. I did another video, I think it was 103, where I carved a tree, or maybe it was 104, I can't remember, because we've been shooting a lot of videos recently. But so yeah, y'all can go see that carving process. I won't be doing that today, but I will carve this one and post pictures of it later. But yeah, this was a fun little tree. I wanted a bulk cypress that had what I call a bottleneck. So it's got this bell-bottom base, comes up, and then it tapers quickly, and I wanted that just really straight tapered section really quickly here. And I was gonna make a nice little flat top style out of it. So here's that tree one more time around. I even left the moss that was on there whenever it came out of the swamp. That's all original. So this is another one that was collected by me and Nate. I think in the same location we got the other one you guys just saw. And this one's been out of the ground for 4 years. I know because I got a Facebook repost thing where they remind you of the past posts, whatever you want to call that. But yeah, I'll show a photo on screen of me holding this tree, the moments it came out of the swamp, and then it's been in this pot for 4 years. But what the difference is that where I told you guys I was going to cut and carve that other tree, I've done this process on this tree. So if I turn this around, you can actually see where I carved it right here, and that's where it healed. And there's actually cut paste in there. I don't do cut paste anymore. And I also don't cut this shallow. Usually I go deeper now, and I'll have to recarve this again because it did give me an inverse taper, unfortunately. But that's bonsai for you. Just kind of keep working until you get it right. But luckily, my front, right off of here, you don't see that, you don't pick up that taper too bad. So I will go back in with carving tools and fix this. But this grew out, this top right here that you see where it's chunked here and here. This was roughly about, off the table, it was about 15 feet tall before I cut that back again to get this to heal the way I wanted it to. As again, stated before, this was why it was collected, because it had these beautiful flutes. For a tree to be this small and to have these mature features on them, it's rare. So I was going for just a big, tall, towery cypress tree that just looked mature. So that's, instead of a flat top, we're going with a little bit more of a traditional Japanese aesthetic here, where we have first branch, second branch, back branch, and then the branches that fill the canopy. So the shape of this tree won't be flat top. It will be more of just that classic triangle shape. And I just wanted to do a really classic tree with this. So this tree has been out of the ground for about, let's see. So if that one was 4, and this is before we were taking a lot of good photos, this one's been out of the ground for about 5 years now. It might be a little bit more. I don't remember, because this one was originally collected by Nate as well. So this is before I was able to go out there and assist him and go pull trees, but we were just looking for good bases, so he definitely delivered on that. So we have a big, nice, fat, flaring base, and this is one of those trees that you can see compared to the other one that y'all just saw. It has a lot more little smaller branches. There are not as many coarse branches left over. Now its coarse branches have been resolved into these finer, smaller branches, which gives the tree a more mature look. And so one of my challenges with this tree that I really like was that this heel right here, this cut, this is where the tree was carved, and then it started healing. And then this is the next one up here. And this tree got away from me, and it rotted out, and then it got weird right here, and it got swollen in here. But to show trees that are old, they do actually have these features. Old bald cypresses do. So the challenge on this was for the viewers to look at this and be offended, but at the same time take in the hollow that happened here, because it's got some natural, it's got some natural scarring and bubbling up, and then the knotty pieces down here. This is what old cypresses look like. They get these big old wart, knotty burls all over them when they have old branches. And so this thing's covered in all those little nice features. And the only thing that I don't like about this tree is it got skinned. So what I mean by that is all that old bark that was on here, somebody went through and cleaned it off and just skinned all the mature bark off, but that will return in time. So, but yeah, this is an example of a tree that is right after that other stage. I just repotted this tree. Right before this video was recorded, I was outside with this tree, and I repotted it probably barely an hour ago. So, and like I said, we do have another tree that we will be repotting on recording today. So this one is just an example of that. And I got a nice big pot for it because it is a big tree. So it's another thing too. We don't want to undershoot how much root space we need. So I had to cut a good amount of roots to even get it in this pot. If that kind of tells you how much root it had on it originally. So really cool tree. So yeah, this tree has a very interesting backstory. We're gonna flash a photo of what this tree looked like in 1993, 4 or so. This tree was collected in 1986. This is a bald cypress collected by Douglas Green. And he pulled this tree out of the ground, and it was one of the first trees he collected as far as bald cypresses go. And now it's part of our permanent collection at Underhill, and it's well over obviously over 30 years old, as a bonsai in training. So this tree has a lot of stories to tell as far as the way the branches are. Let me get it more even on here. As far as the branches are and the way that it's been grown over the several years. Originally, it was intended to be an informal upright tree, and a lot of the branches died just from things happen. Bonsai trees are impermanent, so this tree is a great example of impermanence in bonsai. The top has been regrown about 3 times. There's the original top right there. There's a little dead branch that I broke off. It was a little shard of dead wood, kind of like this. It was sticking up right here, and it just didn't look right, so I just broke it off. But I left a chunk of it because I like leaving memories on trees like that, especially like this. So bald cypresses look best, like I said, when they have old wounds and bubbled up burrows. And this one's got a really unique scar that kind of points outwards because it's just old scar tissue that built up over and over and over and just bulged all the way out. And then the original chop on this tree is right here. So this right here is where the tree was carved, and then it just never healed right. And then it just was allowed to just be a hollow in the tree. So in theory, this tree is hollow all the way through to the bottom, but there are sections of dead wood in there, and in here, there's a nice hollow piece here that's healed over. And stuff like this can only be achieved with just years and years of just being in a pot, being cut back, having its roots trimmed. And so the roots on this, which is really, really cool about this tree as well, is that this young one, this young one has really minor surface roots that are covered up with soil right now that you really can't see. This tree started out like this. It wasn't this small, it was a little bit bigger. The trunk is close to how big this one is, but over 30 years, the root system has gotten fat, and it actually kind of pancakes out. So in bonsai, a pancake base is what we call on trees where that looks like the bottom of it melts into the ground, and that's very desirable in bonsai. So this tree's been allowed to just go crazy, and it's even got like an exposed root thing kind of going on, and it's got a tiny knee that popped up just last year right here on it too. So a lot of people don't like to see exposed roots or crossing roots, but old bald cypresses do have roots like this in nature, so I'm totally fine with it. And also that's the back side of the tree, whereas the front is kind of like in here somewhere. So this tree will be getting repotted today. It has been in several bonsai pots. It's been in probably somewhere around ballpark of like 5 to 6 different pots through its lifetime. So it started out in kind of a big bluish glazed pot after it was in a plastic pot like you see down there, just a plastic nursery pot, to a blue glazed pot, to a, so the blue glazed pot was probably about 4 inches into a really shallow blue that I showed it as a flat top tree a couple of years ago, and it was a little bit broader. It had some branches here, here, and here. Something happened. I don't know what happened. It happens though in bonsai, like I said, and there's an old scar through here, and the roots have repaired, and I left the jin and shari in there is what we call this. So this would be a jin, and this would be your shari in the trunk line. And I left it there to tell a story. So this year I will be potting it into a pot that I find to be appropriate for a tree as old as it is. And I will kind of tell you guys about that pot here in just a second. So let me go pull that container. So this pot is what I'm going to be putting it into today. So this pot's not nearly as shallow as the one it was in before. The blue oval that it was in before was actually half the depth of this container, which was kind of crazy. I had it in there for about a year or so, and then it caused the top section here to suffer. But I went with this pot for multiple reasons. One, this is a Nao Tokotake pot. So this is a potter from Portland, Oregon, and he made a batch of pots with this design. That's a pelican, and it's also got a very elegant, I guess you can say both masculine and feminine kind of look to it. And the glaze on this is outstanding. I love the glaze on this. It's got that swampy, green kind of blue. It's got a lot of iron spots all over it, that black iron. It looks like the American South swamp. And the pelicans are actually for our brown pelican. So what happened with this container is that there was 3 of them made, And up at the Pacific Bonsai Museum, Aaron Packard held a basically like a conference where they took an old bald cypress that was developed by Von Banting, that was donated in like the early 90s. I think it was 1992 or something like that, or even earlier. It was part of the original roundup of trees they were looking for that collection. And one of those 3 pots was selected for Vaughn's tree, and then the other 2 remaining pots, I acquired this one, and then another friend of mine who also loves bald cypress acquired the other. So I got really lucky to acquire this Naotoka Take pot. It has some history built into it, and so does this tree. So I thought it was appropriate to put what now referred to as a good cross between Japanese American and American New Age flat top style. That's what he liked about Vaughn's flat top in the Pacific Bonsai Museum. So I figured, why not? And you know, every good pot needs a good tree. So we're going to take this tree outside, and I'm going to do a really thorough, gentle repot. I have rebuilt the root system on this tree. I have repotted this tree several times. I'm very familiar with what's going on down there. So it's as simple as getting it out of this container, combing the roots out, cutting stuff back nice and tight, and then planting it into this beautiful container. So we're going to go get set up and make some magic happen. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and take this tree out of the pot, and I usually check the top surface for wire. I wired this tree down in the pot, and usually you can see it goes over the roots, and I usually cut it off so that it doesn't bite into my valuable root system, so I don't get like lines in my Nabari, which Nabari, for those that are new to the channel, welcome, but Nabari is also surface root in Japanese. So we're looking for good quality surface roots, which this tree has plenty to give. So we got beautiful root here, we got beautiful roots growing down in there. So we're gonna get this down and just kind of check out and see what's been going on, because it's been in this pot for about a year, almost 2 years that I put it in here to help save its root system and save the top of the tree. So I'm just kind of poking around. So far, nothing out of the ordinary. I got some roots here that kind of just died back a little bit. No big deal. It's a cypress tree. They grow roots like crazy, and you'll see that in just a minute. So yeah, I have a chopstick in here, old piece of wood. Again, nothing to worry about. And then these roots go all the way over here. So everything looks pretty good. So I usually like to go in and pull the sides away. And then I see one root back here that's gonna cause an issue, but I'm gonna have to cut some stuff off anyway. So I think we're gonna be great. Okay. And turn the tree over sideways, and I try not to go too crazy on the trunk. Touch in a spot where there's not a lot of valuable bark. Push it up and slide the tree out. Let's see. There we go. All right. Nice. And so it kind of made a little cavern in there. So this is the original depth of that other container I had it in. And this is beautiful. You can actually see it. It's like a cross section of the earth in here. So you can see roots that had grown up against the side here, shot down, and created what I call the mat. Bald cypresses are really, really good at doing this. So it just made a shitload of roots, but it made a lot of roots right here. And that's basically where the water gathered in the bottom of the pot, and that's where it's the happiest. Whereas this core right here, that's where it stores all of the energy and nutrients that it needs for the next season. So when I cut this off, these runner roots is what they usually are referred to. They're not necessary to the tree's health. And when I cut it back, it'll just tell the tree, let's do it again. Let's build more branches. Let's keep growing. So this is gonna be really easy, just cutting these off, and then this bottom part will just fall away. I'm left-handed, so this is a little tough. All right, just cut there. Very lovely. Comes off like a sheet of cake on the bottom. And this tree has been cut a long time ago. So the bottom was cut on it and the roots were readjusted for this kind of process. If you guys refer back to one of our earlier videos we shot last year, where me and Guy Guidry go in and we repot an old ficus, that tree really needed a do-over with its roots. It needed to be cut with a chainsaw, where we're not going to have to do that here. Here I just have to go in and cut stuff off. We're literally just doing a basic root pruning here. So turn it around, and I'm trying to also maintain this root system here because I don't want it to fall apart and lose all the soil, because I don't want to bare root the tree either. I just want to simply go in and cut back all these pieces. So, oh, it got really happy over here. Let me turn this around so y'all can see it. Really happy there. So it's almost like paint by numbers on this repot, where all the roots hit the side of the container and they just kind of went straight down. So I should be able to lift this right off of here once I get these other interior pieces cut. Beautiful. And this is what happens when you have a really old tree that the root system has been cut the correct way in the past and maintained. So if you give me a few moments, I'll probably stop talking just so I can concentrate. Okay, let me see if I can get this to come off. Still attached there. I know it looks pretty brutal, but this is necessary to the tree's health. They're forever growing and they never stop growing. Oh no! Saved it. That was close. It's okay. It's part of bonsai. If it would have fallen and something would have cracked, then I would just picked it up, assess the damage, and then kind of gone from there. Okay. So that's the mat right there. So that's the bottom of just crazy fleshy roots. You see the white tips. That means that we're very happy. We're still absorbing energy and nutrients and just photosynthesizing. You know, even though it's dormant, photosynthesis still takes place in root systems like this. And also, another thing to note here, there's no root aphids in this tree. So there's no white fuzzy stuff in here that you see, the webbing. So it's actually very healthy. We've kept this tree very happy and rebuilt the root system very well. So nice and gentle. Like I said, I'm not trying to bare root this. All the beautiful roots that are captured in this old soil are right here for me. So we're gonna get the pot and we're gonna see how it fits. And I'm pretty sure this, like I said, this tree was in a bonsai pot that was very shallow before, that this thing's gonna be like a glove. It's gonna fit really perfectly. Okay. Just like I thought. You know, now I have to kind of trim off a few roots on the side. Not a big deal. I don't really have to be attached to all these roots. They can go and we can regrow. On bald cypresses, I usually encourage people to keep as many roots as possible on this top mat of root ball, just because it's really important for the tree's health. And when these roots get old like this, they become very brittle and easy to break. So I usually like to reduce as little as possible, at the same time maintaining a really nice, thick, old root system. That just makes the tree really happy. So that's looking very good. I'm gonna step back from my own. Oh, that was gorgeous. Okay, so what I need to do now is I need to kind of see potting angle, make sure it's right, and get some of these weeds out of here. There we go. Yeah, and this is a time to kind of clean things out. I hate this running little wart weed that grows in here. Some people think it looks like a lily or like a lily pad, but they're just not great. They web through the whole root system, and they take a lot of soil with them when they pull out of the root ball, so I don't like them. They're just unnecessary. So it looks like I won't need to make any major cuts though. And I might even turn the tree ever so slightly like that. So this is our bonsai soil that we use at Underhill. You can purchase this at underhillbonsaistore.com. This is our professional mix. This is what we put in all of our trees, including pine trees, bald cypresses, junipers, elm trees, and everything else. And tropicals do really well on them as well. So this is a great mix. It's got lava, pumice, and a shell clay product in it that serves as a good nutrient absorbent and water absorbent as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna pick the tree up, put a nice layer underneath it, and then kind of chopstick in the soil from there. And what's really exciting is that this is the first time that this pot has been put into use for a bonsai. So this is all fresh. And I've been waiting a while to do this, to put it in a good pot like this. I think it's very deserving. It's a beautiful old school design mixed with a little bit of my natural approach with the way I make trees. So this is really cool. And I wanted to capture this on camera for you guys. And it just fits in there perfectly. Like, I don't have to do any fighting with it. It's even got some running roots that kind of go back here, but I just don't care. It's an old tree. I don't want to cut any root system off that I don't have to. And I'll do a little bit of trimming there. So the thing that I will do is I'll kind of knock down some of these old fibrous roots on the top here. They will kind of die back and desiccate from just drying out in general. But yeah, I like the pop-up roots like this right here. Not gonna say it will turn into a knee, but you never know. Knees on bald cypresses are highly desirable for good reason, and so, you know, got to always give the tree a good chance. Knees on bald cypresses as bonsai grow in old mature root systems, which this one has, and there's one knee back here. So, hey, why not? So we're gonna fill in the rest of the root system here. And go get some more soil. I don't want to use that. I joke with my wife and I say that this is like a new pair of pants. This is probably the fanciest pair of pants this tree's ever owned, but but this is a huge part of the appreciation and representation of bonsai, is giving them appropriate containers and beautifying them for display. And so I do intend on showing this tree once it recovers, so that'll probably be next year. Usually when you repot a tree, you want to give it some time to kind of chill and grow new roots and fill in and just become used to that shallow container environment again. The larger container was just to help it rebuild. So I'm gonna put a little bit more soil in here than seems necessary. And my goal is to use a chopstick to knock the soil surface flat. This. So I don't have a chopstick on hand at the moment, and those pieces are rotted. So I'm just going to use this and be gentle. So my tweezers can double as a way to get the soil down into the container. That's an old root. He's doing that thing.
Yeah, because I was flipping through the stations to the radio, and one was extremely loud. And he was doing great until that happened, then he got real sad.
It's my wife talking to me in the background. She went and grabbed lunch with our son. So yeah, I'm just going in, cleaning up these roots, get the soil in there nice, all underneath. I don't want to see it wiggle anymore. I just want to see the soil settle. And I have to be very careful because I don't want to break the pot with these tweezers because they're made of metal, whereas a bamboo chopstick would have been more ideal. But I just wanted to go ahead and get to work here. Very lovely. And I can work on roots as I go. I feel okay cutting roots like this because they barely have anything on them like that. Most of this was lignified, and then there was little tiny roots there that weren't doing a whole lot. So parting ways with roots like that is totally fine. The only thing is I have a problem with this root here. It's a loose part of the root system because it's so wide and flat just from growing in a pot for so long. So this will not be the last time this tree will be repotted. Like I said, this has been in several containers. It might live in this container for 3 to 5 years, and then it might go into a big pot again to help it recover, like it was in before, a training pot, whereas this is a show pot. It'll probably go into a training pot to recover it again in case it gets weak, because like I said earlier, bonsai is a impermanent process, so the trees will change, they will die back, they will change their branches. I will have to change their branches by redesigning them, and the process starts anew. So I'm hoping that this will be this tree's forever home, potentially. Well, I might have to come back out of this pot and go into a different one to kind of relieve it, but this will always be its second home or first ideal container for it to be displayed in. And the root system is grown perfectly to the shape of this container. So I'm gonna use our tie down wires on parts of the root mass that are not so significant to the tree's health. So I'm not too worried if it'll cut in. So let me get my gin pliers. Let me see if I can just do the good old trick that guy showed me here. Yeah, that'll work. I usually get a little wiggle, see how my wire is helping, if it's helping at all. Sometimes, depending on how big the tree is, it's just there for just for emotional support. Sometimes it feels like. This tree's not very big, so it's actually helping out a lot. And because this pot has such a beautiful rim to kind of show me right where the soil line needs to be, I'll kind of fill in a little bit there. Okay. So the last thing we do is we water the tree into its container. This tree, of course, will be watered thousands of times in this pot, but yeah, we water in just as kind of like a christening kind of thing, just to be like, this is it, this is the new container, off on your voyage, kind of like the champagne bottle breaking thing. But this helps the tree basically settle, the soil settles in there, and everything is nice and hydrated. And then I will go in after this and I'll take sphagnum moss and I'll cut it up really fine and I'll lay it across the entire surface to kind of lock everything in, as far as giving it like an organic cap we'll show that shortly here after the water in. Okay. And that looks pretty good. And it's a bald cypress, so the shallower the better. You know, the water column is lower and wider, so it actually will hold water better. But another thing too is you guys can see the bottom of the container. You can tilt it up just to see how much water you got in it. See, it's pouring out of there. So we're nice and hydrated. That root ball and the soil is really good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take another pot as like a wedge, and then I'm gonna drain it out because I'm gonna bring it back in. I don't want it to get the floor all wet. Just like that. Okay, so we're back in the nice, clean recording space here after the repot. And like I said, I'm going through and I chopped up some sphagnum moss here. It's orchid moss you can buy from any hardware store or garden center. And it's chopped up really fine into like almost like a bedding type material now. And I'm just going around and adding this really nice thin layer of moss. This will hold in any organic fertilizers or moisture levels. The little fibrous roots you see here, like especially in here, you can see them a lot. Instead of them desiccating and dying, I can actually maintain them very easily with this moss, because just like the crust of the earth, there's that soft mushy layer where all the dead leaves and other matter that exists on the ground and the mud and the other stuff, that's where all this is kind of imitating that layer. And then right underneath here with this soil, the bonsai soil is like the airspace, the air-spaced aerobic zone where the roots actually breathe a lot of oxygen. So it's good that there's a lot of airspace in there, but the soil is just tight enough on the roots that it makes them nice and happy so they can maintain moisture. So I'm gonna just kind of talk my way through it as I kind of get this finished up and do this proper top dressing as well. So, and yeah, there's a lot of moss that could go in this area here. So I just kind of put it all through, and obviously in here. And there's so much organic just from the old root system. It kind of filled it in there, and there's some old field soil and, oh, probably not so much field soil anymore, but more like just the old broken down organic soils that might have existed a couple of years back when it was introduced. So we introduce organics in here every once in a while, and then they'll get locked inside of the root system, and the tree actually benefits from that as well. So don't be scared about having inorganic soil mixed in with organics. It actually goes a long way for old established bonsai. So this tree is just a great example of an old established bonsai tree. And something really funny, you guys can kind of see this guy right next to me on the ground, how the branches all droop downwards, and then this one, all the branches go upwards, and we're in a completely different style. We've been in this style with this bonsai for a very long time, where the southeast flat top style that was created and coined by Von Banting back in the 60s, still very present in this tree. And so it's just a great example of all these different nuances and styles in bonsai as well. I love the way the roots wrap and twist and kind of meander and wander around here in the pot. So, and the blue on the pot is beautifully contrasted with the orangey color on the trunk here. So very, very happy with the way this tree sat straight in the container. I didn't have to cut off. It looked like a lot of roots, but really it's not, because every time I take this tree out of this pot, there's going to be roots like that right on the bottom here, and I'm going to have to cut it back, but that's causing it to compress more and more older root system and give us more mature character in this tree. So I think I cut just enough sphagnum moss to get the job done here. Yep. So nice even layer over the majority of it, just where like the white pumice stone doesn't show through as much anymore. And also it gives a nice clean look, and then eventually this will all turn to that nice green cushy moss that everybody loves to see on bonsai. And that's one of the secrets, is that organic cap makes that moss grow. So some people will dye this moss darker colored with like India ink and make it like grayish colored so it looks a little bit less like the trunk on this tree, but I'm not too worried about that. I'm worried about the tree just being happy right now. Okay, so. But yeah, so this has been kind of a journey here with these multiple trees that I showed you guys today. And I wanted y'all to see the process from very, very beginnings to very, very old, and what old bonsai looks like and then what really young bonsai looks like. Especially in the bald cypress, the Taxodium ascendens and Taxodium distichum varieties of bald cypress. So this has been a really fun little project here, and it's been a long time coming. It's taken me a long time to get together multiple trees and multiple stages of development to present for you guys to see. So I hope you guys enjoy. And if you guys have any questions or comments about bald cypresses or just bonsai in general, or Underhill bonsai, you can leave those questions and comments below. And also you can email me at evan@underhillbonsai.com. And if you want to talk about shipping pre-bonsai stock, we sell a lot of trees that are very similar to this little guy here. So a tree like this gets dug up in the spring and then it's ready to ship in the roughly in the fall. And a tree like this retails for about $125, which is very good comparatively to other places I've seen bald cypresses like this for sale. So, but just a kind of closing remark on this, you can make a bonsai masterpiece out of the most mundane stock. Like I said, this tree was not spectacular whenever it was young, 30 plus years ago. It just looked more like this. So it just takes time and a lot of devotion and a lot of understanding of the tree's health and the impermanence of the bonsai art. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one.